Hey everybody, welcome back to BobkeTV. Next up is a preview of the 2017 Giro d'Italia. Yes, everybody, it is time, finally time for this year's Giro, and the Grand Tour season can get underway. Of course, Tour de France later in the summer and Vuelta a España. I'm going to be doing a daily recap of each stage, and so look forward to that for the next 3 weeks and 1 day. There will be some rest days in there, but my plan is to do a little daily recap for everybody throughout the 3 weeks of stage racing. The Giro d'Italia, it was a big part of my career to have participated in the only men's team in American history to win the Tour of Italy with Andy Hampson back in 1988. It's pretty amazing that no Americans before or since had ever won the men's Giro d'Italia. What's not amazing, 2 American women have. Megan Guarnier and Mara Abbott have both in the past won the Giro Femenina. So, guys, let's go. Let's get in there. Let's get some GC wins, some leaders jerseys, some stages. It's going to happen eventually, and I look forward to the day that it does. It will not, however, be this year. That would be virtually impossible. I'm going to give you before we get started, first and second in the overall standings. Nairo Quintana is first. Vincenzo Nibali is second. I said that weeks and weeks and weeks and maybe months ago, and nothing in the meantime has dissuaded me from the same prediction. Nairo's riding great. Vincenzo's just coming into his best form, and so I think it's going to be a brilliant edition of the Giro, and those 2 guys battling it out for the overall win. It's a very tough course. The last week is absolutely diabolical in the mountains, and you can look up the profiles. Stelvio is in there, Mortirolo is in there. Stage 9, already a very tough climb to Blockhouse to finish off that stage. Not used very often, but in the Apennini, a very, very tough climb on stage number 9. And then the last week, just day in, day out, just murderous, back-breaking climbs. Perfectly suited for Nairo Quintana. And I think Vincenzo Nibali, the defending champion, will be in great form also and be right up there competitive. I don't think there's 2 time trials. One's about, the first one, just about 25 miles, and the second one is 16, 17 miles. And I don't think the time trials are going to make a big difference in this year's Giro in the overall standings. And I'll tell you why. All of the guys contending for the overall standings are pretty evenly matched in the time trials. Nibali, Quintana, Thibaut Pinot, who, by the way, I'm going to predict for third, which is the main question. I don't think anybody is discounting the chances of Nibali or Quintana not being on the podium, not contending for the win, not being first and second. And my third place pick is Thibaut Pinot. Please share your comments and your predictions also in the comment section. Like I said the last week, absolutely just, if I was doing the Giro this year and I had heard at some of the stages through the grapevine, I would not even look at those throughout the first 2 weeks of the race. I would not want to know what was coming. I would not want to know how many 1,000 feet of climbing there is per day in the last week of the race. And the first 2 weeks are not a cakewalk either. But stage to Bormio is insane. Val di Fassa, brutal climbs, to the finish. And that's just absolutely crazy. To Asiago, also just tough, iconic climbs. One stage is going to be gorgeous, over the Stelvio. So look for that, over the Stelvio Pass. Was supposed to do that a couple of times in my career, but both were canceled because of bad weather. So one of these days, I'm going to have to get back I won't be racing over it, but I would like to ride the Stelvio Pass at some point. Besides those three, these are some of the names to watch. Adam Yates, top 5 most certainly. Ilnur Zakarin from the Katusha team, top 10. I see Ilnur still developing a little bit, struggles in the time trials at times, and also he's got to be a little bit more careful. Had a spectacular crash in last year's edition, and let's hope that that does not happen to any of our overall contenders or any of the riders in the race. Team Sky, a couple of very good cyclists, obviously. Geraint Thomas and Michele Landa, co-leaders. One thing I don't recommend generally, splitting up the team, hoping that both riders will do good, and then picking one guy in the last few days, whoever's riding better. One leader, 8 helpers. That's, to me, the ideal scenario, if you have somebody capable of winning any of the Grand Tours. If I was Team Sky, I would have everybody working for Michele Landa. I would, including Geraint Thomas, who's a fantastic teammate. But they have their own agenda, so we'll see how it works right for them. Tom Dumoulin, top 5 most certainly. Bauke Mollema, I think he's going to have a very, very good Giro d'Italia. Top 10, top 5, very possible for Bauke Mollema. Apart from Nairo and Vincenzo and Thibaut, I think that's about all of your overall contenders. TJ van Garderen and Rowan Dennis from BMC. I think TJ's going to have a solid Giro, and it would be great if he finished on the podium. I think the nature of the climbs in Italy, even though there's 2 time trials that should suit TJ quite well, the climbs are steep, the pavement is crummy, the rhythm of the race is very different from the Tour de France. It's 105% and then 70%, and then some days, down to 15% in my era. That's changed a little bit, but I think the Tour de France, actually, the climbs in the Tour suit TJ's talents a little bit more. BMC, it's pretty complicated because Richie Porte is racing so well, and he's going to be their lone leader. And TJ has not had a good tour in the last few years, so it's understandable that BMC would support Richie Porte for the Tour de France. And it'll be interesting to see what TJ does with this opportunity to at least be a protected rider, and along with Rowan Dennis, one of the leaders of the BMC squad in the Giro, and I'll be following his progress very closely. I hope he does great. I hope the weather is good for TJ, and that he gets into a good rhythm leading into the last week, and he does have, for the final day, which is the time trial, almost 40-kilometer, almost 25-mile time trial in the middle of the Giro. He's going to do a good TT there. If he has an advantage over some of the climbers, I think that would be great for his morale. And watch for TJ, top 5, most certainly capable of doing that. Outside chance for the podium if everything goes perfectly for TJ. And I will be cheering for him. Nibali, Quintana, Thibaut Pinot, there's your podium. Feel free to disagree if you so desire, but at your peril. Plenty of sprint stages, and a young rider from Colombia that, if you've watched BobkeTV in the past, you will have gotten plenty of news reports on Fernando Gaviria. He's going to make his Grand Tour debut at this year's Giro. He's going to have his work cut out for him, winning stages. Andre Greipel, Caleb Ewan, Roberto Ferrari. Should be some of the fast men up there, day in and day out. I think Caleb Ewan is going to get some stage wins. And Gaviria, I wouldn't be surprised if he had 2 or 3 stage wins at the end of this year's Giro d'Italia. Sam Bennett, also racing for the Bora squad from Ireland, got good chance to win some stages. So the sprint stages are going to be a blast, as always. Andre Greipel, he's going to win some stages too. So watch for Tom Dumoulin to be a factor in the time trials, and that could give him a chance to be in the top 10 in the overall standings. And like I said, the Giro is absolutely spectacular, and this is going to be a great addition. A couple of bad news reports coming out just very recently from the Bardiani squad. Stefano Pirazzi and Nicola Ruffoni, both positive for drugs, have been kicked out of the race, as far as I can tell. This is the A sample. B sample, if they so choose to ask for, would confirm what the A sample has found. So it's not a definitive penalty phase suggestion that 2 riders on the Bardiani squad are cheating with drugs. But I don't think it would be a good idea for Bardiani to say that that didn't happen, because you got 2 guys, same team, out of competition. And if I was the director of the Giro d'Italia, Bardiani would be gone, out of the race. If the team is not kicked out of the race and suspended from further racing for, let's say, the Giro, those 3 weeks plus 3 more weeks, it takes the teeth out of the fight against doping. And if you don't kick this team out of the Giro, imagine this scenario. 3 or 4 riders are in a breakaway. One of them is on Bardiani. That rider wins the stage. How would you feel if you were one of the riders in the breakaway that just lost to a rider whose 2 teammates have been kicked out of the Giro before it started for cheating with drugs? And I think the Giro d'Italia should prevent that from happening and kicking the team out before it starts. Bardiani has said they had nothing to do with it. They're trying to distance themselves from their 2 riders, Pirazzi and Ruffoni. But it, to me, is an indication that a systemic culture of doping exists in the Bardiani squad, and they should be asked to leave. It was not easy to be invited for a number of the pro-continental level Italian teams. And Gazprom from Rusvelo was invited, and CCC Sprandi from Poland was also invited, to the exclusion of 2 top Italian domestic teams. So if you let Bardiani in, that sends a horrible message to the teams you did not invite. And all of this is under a much worse backdrop, and that's the death of Michele Scarponi from the Astana squad. And there will be a lot of awards and memorials and a lot of justified remembrances of Michele Scarponi. And the Astana squad is going to start with 8 riders and not try to replace Michele Scarponi for the Giro d'Italia, and they are to be commended in this way of honoring the life and career of Michele Scarponi. Let's hope everybody gets through the Giro safe. Like I said, it's going to be a spectacular Grand Tour. It's going to be a brilliant season of bike racing in the Grand Tours, and I can't wait to bring you the daily recaps of all the stages. So what more is there to say except I'll see you on BobkeTV when the recaps begin. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and if you'd like to subscribe, you can click on the subscription icon. You can click on the t-shirt if you'd like to get some merchandise. Comments, who's your podium? I got a pretty solid podium, I'm confident. And thumbs up, greatly appreciated. All right, everybody, thanks a lot. See you at the Giro.